Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Walter here at the workbench. So, I was using my 60.5 block plane and thought, this is that time of year where summer's over and you need to look over your tools. This one's not too bad. I use this a lot. I keep it oiled. But I did notice a couple of little places started to develop a little bit of oxidation. Rust. Rust is our enemy. So I took it completely apart and I dusted it off. By the way, you always hear me say this, don't forget to dust off your tools. Why? Because dust is like a water magnet, wood dust. And sometimes that means you need to take it completely apart and check underneath. Now you can see I oiled this, so it's got oil on it, so there's no dust there right now. But be careful the oils you use, because petroleum oil will attract dust. It will actually pull it to it. But you want to get down in here and dust all that out. Okay, got a little excess oil in there. That'll be fine. And take your throat plate out, dust that, clean it, oil it, your screws, your levers, and your knob. And then you're good to go for a while. How often you need to do this type of cleaning depends on where you live. Depends on if you have a climate controlled workshop. Mine isn't too bad. It'll get dry here comes winter time. But in the summer, unless I open the doors and leave them open, I don't do too bad. It's very well insulated. So just a quick one here today. If you have any questions, you know you're sharp too. When you peel off shavings that are waxy looking. They're actually waxy looking on one side. And that's pretty amazing. That's how you can identify wood, is by the end grain. Has to be razor sharp cutting. Because what they can do, they can put this under a microscope and they can tell you exactly the species of this tree. Not only the main name, but the I guess it's the genus and the subspecies. I'm not a biologist, I don't know. But that's how they do it. But the block plane excels. The low angle, 60.5, whether it be a Stanley or some other manufacturer, this happens to be my Lie-Nielsen, it excels at shearing off end grain when your blade, and by the way, this blade is a Ron Hawk blade that I had a bunch made. If you're interested in one, let me know. It's a Ron Hawk blade, 01 tool steel, and it takes a sublime edge. It just, it's actually due for another medium honing, not a full-fledged honing, and it just takes a wonderful edge and holds it. I just like 01 much better than A2. I do have some A2s and I do use them. But if I have the opportunity, I will use 01. Okay. So we're back together. So with a 25-degree pure natural honed edge, not a micro bevel. It's 25 degrees throughout. I get 37 degrees, 37 or 37 and a half, which is as low an angle as most planes will be able to provide. Okay? Great for shooting the end of work, chamfering the corners. Okay? But this is the time of year to take some time, take stock of your tools, take your inventory into account, and get rid of any rust. If you need to use chemicals, there's lots of rust removers on the market. We're not going to get into which is better, which is worse. I advise you not to soak any steel or iron tools in an acid. Now, if you want to use an acid, whether it's phosphoric, whether it's vinegar, citric, I don't care which acid it is. Don't leave it long. Rinse it, neutralize it, dry it, and oil it. What happens with acids is cast iron in its pure form. When I say pure, I mean it's just iron, is one thing. But most cast irons, like this is ductile iron, it has other metals in it that allow it to bend. There are other alloys they can add to cast iron to make it less prone to rust, to make it harder, to make it more flexible. And so when you're putting something in iron that's an alloy, if you're not a chemist and a metallurgist, you're not going to know which acid is safe. So I avoid them, except for maybe when you find a really beat up tool. Take a little vinegar, some 4/0 steel wool or Scotch-Brite, and you can clean the tool with it, rinse it, neutralize it, oil it up. Same thing with steel. Steel has different elements in it. You have carbon, you've got nickel, you've got vanadium, you've got things I don't even know. So when you place something like even a saw plate, a regular handsaw, in vinegar, the vinegar starts attacking whatever it can attack. I had some calipers one time. Okay, these are dividers. And I'm starting to notice a little bit of oxidation here and there. But I soaked some of these in vinegar overnight. And the spring steel cracked. Something got in there and weakened it to the point where it just snapped. So, don't ruin your tools. Don't use vinegar. A little bit of steel wool, a little bit of oil. You'll be fine. This one's not too bad. Like I said, winter's coming. We have more time in our workshops to care for our tools. And the dry air helps too. So there you have it, everybody. And we're testing out the new microphone today to see if it changes the sound somewhat. I'm not sure if it does, but I'm trying to talk a little lower. I'm not trying to project as much. So we'll see if that helps. If you found something useful here today, head out to your shop and go make some shavings. Walter out.